Hi everybody. I just love making these videos, but I thought this would be the easiest way to explain what teaching experience is all about, and all the procedures and kind of how it moves over the semester. I have 16 students in this cohort, so I totally appreciate your willingness to help me in this first semester of supervision. It's actually probably the easiest one in some ways because it's a credit, no credit, so you don't have to grade them. A lot of times you're supporting students, but by the end of the semester we really want them to know how to plan and to show us that they are on their way to learning how to teach. And so there are certain things that we want them to learn and be able to do by the end of the semester. I am sending you a link to this folder. It's a Google folder. This is where we put everything. It's in Google Docs. And actually, when you're working with a student on the observation and you're sharing notes and they're sharing their work, it's all on, we're using a Google Doc for that. And so I'm going to talk about Teaching Experience 1. These are all the folders. TE3, we have some student teachers this semester as well, but TE1 is the first semester. So these are all the documents that the students also have access to. And I'll just kind of go through them a little bit quickly, and then I'll go back to the schedule. This is the Teaching Experience Supervision Outline. This says what they have to do, when they have to do it. Talks about how they do their video samples. They do create a blog, a teaching journal, and we do that together, and then we invite you, the supervisor, to be able to get on the blog. But they have very specific things, what we call postings, to do. The first post is a schedule. The second is about their students, and we ask them to do IEPs at a glance. The third, the fourth, and the fifth are observations. And then the last is they do their self-evaluation, and then you follow up with your evaluation and a conference. So that's that document. Then they do have a lesson plan form. So for every observation, and there are 3, they have to complete the lesson plan form. And really this is one of the big goals for the first teaching experience, is that they know what the learning segment goal, or that's a sort of a short unit goal. It's not for the year, but it's maybe for a unit or a week or a month, depending upon how they want to kind of break that up. What a lesson objective is that is measurable and observable. How to think about collecting some data that shows the impact of their teaching. Very distinct lesson procedures. We do follow kind of the I do, we do, you do model. But they complete this lesson plan form for every observation that you do for the 3. The first things when we ask them to tell us about their students, we ask them to do, here's the IEP at a glance form that they should put out for each of them. The other is, back to T1, is this class list. So we ask them to do a, it can be on a Word doc or it can be on an Excel file, but the students, and then very specific information about their students, and they can use pseudonyms here, or if they're on the job, often they share what, this is the first way they kind of get a big picture of who their students are. So they have a form for that. Daily lesson plan form. Then the teaching experience, and this is the teaching experience evaluation form. You've seen this before. For TE1, we're really focusing on those blue highlighted ones. That's a lot, but you know, it's kind of what the focus is. The student will complete self. The student sends it to you. This is the beginning of December, first week of December, and you would then complete the supervisor. Let me go back to, because this is really kind of the key document. This kind of walks you through the whole thing. The first posting is their teaching schedule. Now again, they have a teaching journal. So they're going to post on the teaching journal a link to a document that shows their schedule. And that is due by the 14th. If you have any questions, you email them and get back to you really soon. Then the second posting is their students. So it's that profile, that matrix where they fill in information about their students, and IEPs at a glance. If they are working with a cooperating teacher, they're not going to do all the students. They're really going to do the students that they will primarily work with. Postings 3, 4, and 5 are observations. So that is when the student videotapes their teaching. They do some work on that videotape and send you information. You view the videotape, looking at what they've written, and then you do a summary. And then the student looks at what you've written and they answer about 4 or 5 reflection questions. So that's like 4 steps, and that happens within 1 week. It's kind of, it should happen within a week. Otherwise, it's too far from, the feedback is too far from the observation. So this is the schedule. First one is schedule. The second one is student profiles. The third then is an observation. So if the student is using video, with their distance in using video, that's what most of you are doing, then this is the form and this is the process. See if I can get closer. The student is the one who initiates this, because the student has to post a video, which is going to be on YouTube, and so there'll be a link on their teaching journal, a lesson plan, a completed lesson plan, and any artifacts that tell you something about the student's performance. And the steps in this observation feedback process is that the student reviews and comments on their teaching video. They do that first. Then they, and they're working on this Google Doc right here. And then they post a link in their teaching journal to this document. So you can go in and you can complete an observation summary. And then the student goes back into the document after you've looked at it and posted your comments and answers some final reflection questions. So here's the first step. The student reviews their own video. Really kind of helps for them to see themselves teach, and they are to make comments a couple of comments on each 5-minute segment of their teaching video. And they're supposed to focus on not only, but one of the things we've tried to do is the first observation, we kind of try and dig into the planning and preparation competencies on the evaluation. In the second one, we look at classroom environment. On the third one, it's instruction and professionalism. We just want them to look at the competencies and kind of pay attention to them. So then when they're finished with their comments on their video, they email you and tell you they've done it. You then watch the video, and you're probably taking notes. You're watching it, taking notes. And then you summarize those notes. And we put them in the domains. These are the Danielson domains. And think about what the strengths were, what to focus on, and any other comments or questions. If you have questions, they're supposed to look at this and be able to answer your questions. And then the third thing, you email the student, you say, I've done my part, now it's back to you. And the student then answers the last 4 reflection questions, and then lets you know that they've finished, so that you can look at it and you can, if you have any other final comments, you can make them. But every observation, each one, has this form. So they will, in the end, have 3 Google Docs, observation 1, observation 2, observation 3. And that is really the process. If for some reason students need to have their dates changed, that's fine. They have to work with you on that. For the most part, these are spread out so that you are not constantly, doing observations with the students, and it's not all over the place. We try and kind of structure it, but sometimes there are things that get in the way and make it so that the date has to be changed. But everything is up here on the Google Doc. You have it, the student has it. I'm going to set up a time for us to probably do a Zoom conference where you and maybe everybody can get together for about 30 or 40 minutes and just ask questions. And then I'll touch base with you over the course of the semester to see how things are going. But this is the Teaching Experience 1 process, and I'm so glad, again, that you're helping me do this. I think that they really like having somebody other than me do it. They really like practicing teachers. So anyway, I'm sure you'll have some good advice for them as well.